For the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Amen.
Call the roll, please.
John Junko.
Here.
Maria Milsonet.
Here.
Bo Oakley. Mike Arminio.
Here.
Thomas Jordan.
I'm here.
Newton White.
Here.
Lance Green.
Here. Consideration of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll, please.
John Junko.
Yes.
Maria Milsonet.
Yes.
Mike Arminio.
Yes.
Thomas Jordan.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. Case number 17-400000001, Eighth Amendment to the amended and restated Port Orange Gateway Center, PCD and MDA and CDP.
Good evening, Penelope Cruz, planner. So, as you all know, this item was on your agenda a couple times. It had to be continued at the request of the applicant. So we're here before you to get this thing done, hopefully. And
Hold on one second. Do we need a
Oh.
motion to open this back up, or was this tabled?
I don't think it was.
I think it was just continued.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, you know, we're all pretty familiar with master development agreements. They're basically laying out the regulatory framework for the development. In this case, for the development of an additional outparcel lot on the existing Lot 3, which is the target lot, and then the regulations for that new lot. So the proposed new lot, Lot 3A, is located where currently is Target's overflow parking, right next to Chick-fil-A. And it's proposed to be developed with approximately 10,000 square foot commercial multi-tenant building. And like I said, it's the existing overflow parking area, so Target will still be able to meet the required parking spaces once this is developed. So they actually have above what is required by the Land Development Code after this would be developed. There are two policy issues that need to be addressed with the PCD. One of them is the offsite signage. It's actually an existing sign, but based on this layout here, if you can see my cursor, based on the layout of the lot, that existing sign is technically now located on Lot 3A and not on the Lot 3. And so that's why that request is there. And then the wall sign height. That 25% is the standard if it was just an individual standalone store. It's also the standard that's in the majority of PCDs throughout Port Orange, and it's pretty typical for national retailers. And it's what has been approved already for other lots in that PCD. So for consistency's sake and based on what the actual demand is from national retailers, that's what they're asking for. So that's really it with that. I didn't know if you wanted to open up the next item and get into that as well and just discuss it. They kind of go together.
Yeah, we do. You guys good with that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need to read anything in? Or?
No, I mean it's the same basic.
Okay.
It's the same basic.
Yeah. So
Just different amendment.
so the next item is the actual replat, which if the MDA amendment is approved, then this will be the subdivision of that Lot 3 into two lots. The one lot would be the Target retail store, which is a little bit over 16 acres, and then the little over 2 acre outparcel lot. It'll use the existing access and entrance points. It'll have all the existing cross-access easements and drives are already in place, and nothing, this conservation easement area is not impacted at all. So.
Okay, hold on one
they're pretty
second. Let me
easy.
go ahead and open this. I want to also discussion of case number. I'm sorry.
03.
Case number 17-5000003. Want to open it up for discussion? Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that's basically
Okay.
it. Like I said, the existing access points are there, the cross-access easements, everything's in place there already. None of that's changing, not impacting the conservation easements. It's just really creating that lot. So the applicant is here if you have any questions as well, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. All right, so just looking at the lot 3A, why is the little funny angle or the little piece that's kind of going down the driveway, why does that have to be in lot 3A? Is that just to try and create enough square footage for this lot?
That's just parking spaces right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it's
It's
just
all
a driveway,
existing.
isn't it?
You have driveway and parking spaces.
Well, actually, it's a driveway in some natural area, but go ahead. We're gonna, you guys any questions of Penelope before she leaves? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Jason Cruz with the Ferber Company, 151 Sawgrass Corners Drive, Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. We're the applicant for the property. First, I just wanted to say we've been doing work in the city of Port Orange. The staff has always been great to work with, very accommodating, and they've done the same thing on this particular application also with us. But the kind of jug handle that we'll call it, it's really because there's just an excess of parking in that area, and Target wanted to just go ahead and include that as part of the acquisition for this piece, for the overflow parking area.
Is that going to be needed possibly for that project? For that out parcel, depending on what's going to go there?
Yeah, essentially what will happen is it's really just creating the lot, and the parking will stay as it is. The access drive stays as it is. It's just they wanted us to include that in the parcel of what we purchased.
Okay.
Did you say
I'm just
purchase?
asking if he's trying to make the lot bigger so you get a bigger retail space
No, sir.
on that spot. That's
No,
all.
that area it is not going to have any buildings or anything. It's going to stay as is, parking drive aisle to
Yeah.
access the development.
Okay. Newton, any questions of the applicant?
Well, yeah. Why didn't you buy the whole block? Why is this little block left with the trees on it there still?
That's a conservation area.
It's a conservation area, so it's not. It has really no value from a development standpoint.
So that is conservation
Yeah.
area.
Yes, sir.
That answers my question.
Okay. Tom?
And you're expanding the uses on this, right?
We will be.
Was there?
There's no use there now. It's all parking. So we're actually going to be putting in the multi-tenant building in that
but
parking.
I mean, what it
area.
was.
10,000.
The allowed uses is
Yeah,
what he's asking
correct.
for.
Yeah, we're doing the allowed uses that are already allowed in the MDA.
Okay, and within the MDA. Okay.
Yes.
How many signs are we talking about that are going to be allowed?
I think we have the one sign that is really replacing the existing Target sign, which will become a multi-tenant sign, and then one monument sign farther down in front of the development.
So you're adding a new sign?
Adding a new sign, yes, sir.
Okay, that's
Just
right.
one though.
The
Correct.
Super Target sign's going away.
The Super Target sign goes away, and they go on the panel. They'll go on the panel, and it'll be a multi-tenant sign altogether.
Okay.
But there'll be one new sign.
Correct.
In addition to what's there already.
That's correct.
Which is
That's
being
correct.
modified.
Whoa. One additional, or you're taking one away?
So we're going to replace one. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, as it. I apologize.
That's what I thought,
I
yeah.
apologize.
Yeah,
I
because
apologize. I'm sorry. So yeah, it stays as is, and we're only building a new multi-tenant in front of the development.
It stays as is on lot 3A though,
That's
right?
correct.
Is that
That's
okay?
correct.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll actually give them an easement to it for accessibility and stuff.
Okay.
But there's one sign now.
Which stays. It's
There
the
will
Super
be
Tar-
two signs. when
One
this is
new
done.
one added. One new
That's
one
two.
added. That's a total of two.
Okay.
One existing, one new.
Kind of like what we did out at Lowe's.
That's correct. Yes.
And is there, in the previous submissions that we saw, there was some additional space proposed on the south side of the Target building?
Correct.
2 additional lots?
That's correct.
They are not here now.
That's
Will
correct.
they be coming to us at some
It
point in the
could.
future?
It could. I mean, we were working that. The larger box tenant that we were working with pulled out, so we couldn't seem to make that work at this time. But we are still looking at trying to do something with that, but didn't want to muddy up the application right now.
And so if you come forward with those two, will there be more signage variances required, or will there be more signs required for that?
There would be more signs required on the building. We, not knowing exactly yet, I wouldn't want to put myself on the record exactly what would happen in the back because I don't know right now.
Oh, go ahead. All right, so we're getting another sign on Dunlawton is what you're telling me.
As part of this development right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
Mike?
So you still have to go through the concurrence review once you get the building and you have a tenant for it, am I correct? Like what's going to create more, what I'm talking about is more traffic.
Right. So we've been working with staff through our site plan application and concurrency application based on the 10,000 square foot that we're proposing on lot 3A. So we've gone through that and have been working with staff concurrently.
Would it limit the uses? Because we have a CIE report at the end of the meeting which shows a lot of failing roads in Port Orange.
I know that we'd be paying in a pretty good amount for concurrency. I mean, I'd have to let staff comment on that, but I know that I'm planning on writing a check.
Right.
For
I
fair
got you.
share?
For fair
Yes,
share,
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just, okay.
Good. So you're proposing 10,000 square feet up to, you don't know any tenants now, so right
I
now
do.
you're just doing a blank box.
So we know we have 90% of it leased up.
Okay. And with how many tenants? per
3
se?
tenants. There'll be 1 vacant space left over right now.
Okay,
that
so
we're still
basically
working.
4 tenants in the 10,000 square feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maria?
Can you tell us who the tenants are?
I can't right now. Not until the leases are
I'm
actually
dependent
signed.
because I want some new people in this town.
Well, they are new. They are new. So
Tom asked my question. My question was going to be about the signs because I was a bit confused if you were replacing the Target.
I apologize. I know.
No, it's fine. It's
when
fine.
we were working as doing it in the back piece, I knew that we were working on. We were looking at something different. So
I think eventually, if we're talking more retail in that space, eventually we're going to have to just give it up to 1 sign for everybody or 2 signs for everybody, so that we don't have multiple signage all in front of that.
yeah,
that
what
parcel.
I will say is what we were looking at originally when we were going to do the back piece. It was going to be remove the Super Target, put 1 sign there, put Super Target on that, and then
Right.
those
yeah, see,
panels
I'd like
for
to
the
see
rear.
That. Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at the Altamira Plaza, I mean, it's signs everywhere, signs,
Yeah,
signs,
it's,
signs everywhere.
it's not
Yeah,
good.
no, we definitely like to try and minimize the amount that
We
we
love
that
that.
we yeah. So
Yeah.
nice clean look, you know.
Yeah.
So.
2 big signs per 1 business.
I've heard that before.
That's a different, that's different.
I don't know where we've
subject.
heard that before.
John?
Will any of these tenants potentially need a drive-through service window? Or
No,
is it
sir.
just going to be a straight?
It's just straight.
Office.
It's straight
Okay.
retail. There are a couple of restaurant uses, sit down that would go in there, but nothing for fast food. We haven't planned for that.
Because then
so.
I would have figured out a new parking with the drive-through area and.
I thought there's a drive-through possibility in there.
Well, I think we've
Stated.
put it in the MDA as a possibility, but our plan right now does not have it. And based on the tenant uses we have, we don't have.
Well,
a
if there was
drive-through.
one in contingency, would that affect the parking because you're working on limited areas? And you have calculations of parking spaces and handicap, so if you're gonna start accessing additional areas for a potential drive-through area, then that might take away from your parking space. That's why I'm asking.
Well, with the Target though, like they said, well, like at Altamira, they have that overflow, so they don't consider just what's in front of the building as parking. They look at the overflow and where the Target is. Am I correct,
here
Penny?
comes-
No, I'll be curious. Their required parking is 41 spaces. They're providing 89 spaces. They have plenty of
Then we're
parking.
good.
We're
Okay.
actually, the site plan's already under review, the building permit's already under review, there's no drive-through.
Excellent. Okay, that was an easy answer. I think I haven't, I'm content with that.
Okay.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you. Nip it in the bud.
Thank you.
I like that.
Okay, kind of answers a couple of my questions right there. So, but I still need you, I'm sorry, one more time. So let's talk about the fair, just want to talk about the fair share and how this works. Because again, my main concern is going to be the traffic. We're going to now add 10,000 square feet, we're going to have a couple restaurants. And the turn into the Lowe's is already hazardous. Where does this fair share go? And what's it going to do?
The
I mean,
TIA, the Transportation Impact Analysis for the site plan, is under review right now with the site plan, and that review has not been completed. We anticipate there may be potentially some contribution to a future fair share project for Yorktown Boulevard. But the majority of trips are really what they consider pass-by trips because it's an infill type of development. Cars are already coming and going in that
Right.
area. But like I said, the TIA is under review and that concurrency analysis is going to be completed as we complete the review of the site plan.
How far out does that TIA cover? I mean, distance-wise?
It's a
Does it
2-mile
cover-
radius is the requirement.
Yeah.
So done.
That's a countywide methodology
So
requirement.
Williamson?
Yeah,
I didn't realize it went that far.
well, it does, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because when we talked about some of the other fair shares we had before, we were doing project of the BJ's, but it was going up to Clyde Morris's light,
Yeah.
and those are the things
Right.
that, and it actually helped. I mean, we saw those roads were failing, because right now our roads are failing. You know, I mean, that road out there is failing.
We only
And
have
so-
3 segments of one road that are failing in Port Orange right now, and it's 3 segments of Williamson Boulevard. That's
Do we
it.
wanna
There's
talk about
not a
that
lot
now?
of roads in Port Orange that are failing.
I saw Tim stand up, so I must have got his attention.
You want to
You know, we're
open
pretty
up
long
the other
now.
issues?
Well, we
Yeah,
have a
and
bunch
again,
of D
I-
roads, that's for sure.
The road failing, just wanted to clarify.
Go
we
ahead.
have standards by the state and the county which we follow. And you know, even though people see a lot of traffic on Dunlawton, when we look at the volumes there and what the capacity is set by the state, FDOT on their road, and Volusia County, that's what determines whether that road is failing. When we
State
have,
obviously hasn't driven down Dunlawton.
I mean, the basically state has put. I mean, that's what we have to use. We can't use our own perceptions on the roads. We have to follow what the state has done on their specific roads. And also too, with the trips, basically, as a 10,000 square foot retail building, it also has a distribution model. There might be some trips coming from the east to that one, and the west to various locations. So if all the trips that are generated by the 10,000 square foot retail space will not be going down Williamson there. We will look at that the TIA. They will be required to mitigate it then, but it's not every trip that's associated with that project will hit that area then.
Can the fair share be used towards, you know, the future?
Yorktown, what about
Well,
towards Yorktown?
Yeah, Yorktown.
Yes,
Yorktown
yes, it's
Extension.
gonna be used toward
The
Yorktown.
issue that you have right there at Hensel Road, or not Hensel Road, but Boxford.
Boxford.
It's 2 miles.
I mean,
I mean,
that light, that new light.
well, I mean, there's, when we looked at
There's
the
nowhere to
trip, the
go.
distribution, within the PM peak hours, we have to look at, basically 4 to 6, there was no trips that were going through that intersection there, way at Devon and Taylor then. Basically, it was just gonna be what we have to look at Williamson,
Well, if there's any improvements, yeah, Williamson needs help too.
so.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Berman?
Okay, any more questions of the applicant? Thank you. Anybody from the audience want to come speak to this? Entertain a motion?
Do we make a
Can we
motion
make
for
a
both?
motion
or-
for both?
All right, let's do one at a
that's what I was gonna
time.
ask. Can we bundle it?
Okay, make a motion for case number 17-400000001.
Second.
That's a motion to approve, recommend
Mo-
approval.
Recommend approval with the 2 policy issues, correct?
No.
This one
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
2. There
Yeah,
are
there's
2.
2 policy issues.
And that's subject to city attorney
Subject-
review.
Right.
All right.
Are you clear on that motion now? And I have a second? Would you call the roll, please?
John Junko.
Yes.
William L. Smith.
Yes.
Mike Arminio.
Yes.
Thomas Jordan.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. All right, and so let's entertain a motion on the replat.
Make a motion to approve case number 17-500000003, subject to city review.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
John Junko.
Yes.
William L. Smith.
Yes.
Mike Arminio.
Yes.
Thomas Jordan.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. All right. Case number 17-5000007, subdivision plat and plans for Journey's End subdivision, first edition. Tim Berman.
All right, Tim Berman, Community Development. The request is to subdivide about a 6.7 acre piece of property that's currently located within the Journey's End PCD boundary. This property was added back in 2008 to that PCD. At that time, they established the general lot configuration with the 2 lots, the allowed uses on those 2 lots, and basically the kind of development requirements there for those 2 lots then. The current applicant is requesting, as I said, to subdivide the existing property into the 2 lots that are shown here, lot 1 and lot 2. There's also a area being added for the expansion of that retention pond, which was also a requirement in the MDA agreement. Staff has reviewed the subdivision request, and the improvements proposed regarding the utility extension of the roadway and stormwater have been met. They comply with the subdivision or the land development code, along with that approved First Amendment to the Journeys Inn MDA. And staff is recommending approval of the proposed subdivision request.
Questions of Tim? We'll start with you, John.
Have they have any tentative plans of what they want to do with these 2 lots?
Lot 2, they have a site plan currently that's been recently submitted to do a self-storage facility, which was one of the 3 or 4 permitted uses allowed on that site.
So this is our second one that's coming to us within the
We
year.
seem to go
You're
through
getting
these
ready to have 4.
phases, banks,
Third.
doctor's
Third. This is
offices,
the second.
self-storage, gas stations.
Okay. And that's one, they don't know what they want to do with the remaining lot?
Nothing's been identified for Lot 1 yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Maria?
I read the self-storage thing and I just feel like we're going through this self-storage phase all of a sudden. They're popping up. I don't understand, but I digress. I don't have any questions.
Tim, didn't we approve,
Yeah,
at
thank
one
God.
time, we approved a self-storage facility there? Was it in that same spot, the same lot, or,
Well,
'cause I know it
in-
was right around the hotel?
In
It's on the
2008, basically you approved the First Amendment to that MDA,
Right.
and that MDA essentially had a concept plan for a self-storage facility shown. The concept plan showed the general building outlay
Yeah.
for it on that Lot 2, and established that as the one of the permitted uses for Lot 2 then. So I think you might have saw at that point then the project went kind of dormant, and now it's picked back up then.
So the approval that we gave back then.
Was just
doesn't-
for the MDA, the conceptual, the framework basically.
Okay, so
Now,
now they're putting the pieces together.
correct.
Okay, so we don't know what's gonna happen. On Lot 1, they can do restaurant sales, retail, all that stuff.
Well,
Or a self-storage unit?
I think self-storage unit is only on
Lot 2.
then.
Yeah.
Lot 1 is, like you said, more the commercial one.
Yeah.
One thing that currently is in place on that one, though, there is a trip cap. I believe around like 300 trips.
So, 310.
So I think basically, if anything got developed on Lot 1, we'd have to basically work on getting that trip cap adjusted now.
Let's see.
The
See, that's-
self-storage is so low trip generation,
Yeah, I don't-
it doesn't
Yeah, it doesn't.
there, but
Yeah.
we'll have to address that with Lot 1
Well,
when it
that-
comes time.
Well, that's the thing, the lot, because you got another restaurant going in by the Mellow Mushroom, and then there's another lot that can be used for another restaurant, and I mean, not for nothing, that's, it's great to see some growth over there. But there again, that's gonna add traffic to that little Boxford behind BJ's kind of area, because you can't turn left on that lot, you gotta go around to Yorktown. So, hopefully we are looking at that, because I mean, I'm great to see more restaurants coming here, but just putting more clog on our roads we gotta really start being more vigilant about it. That's all. But
You confused me when you talked about the trips.
Basically, when this came back in 2008, there was the future land use amendment along with the master development agreement that came before in 2008. And at that time, a trip cap was put on that property. Essentially, I think it's basically 300
I think it's
300 daily trips are allowed from this current site layout here then.
Off the hotel and these two.
No, just these 2 lots only.
Just these two.
These 2 lots.
Combined?
Doesn't apply north.
combined.
Yeah, Lot 1 and Lot 2, 300 trips. When, of course, trip generation for the self-storage is low,
It's very minimal.
but they take up a majority of them, so the Lot 1...
Well, I mean, there's
would-
really,
which
there's
we'll have to
really not
address
that
at a
many
later
trips
date
to
then.
the hotel, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
it's.
That doesn't,
No,
a power
impact this,
generator, but.
What's the
um,
chip generator for the hotel? I mean, how many trips is allowed on that end of the road? And why is it
Well,
different?
Well, the hotel's been established
a long time ago.
a long, they wouldn't apply
Oh,
this.
so this was new.
Yeah, this was new, just
Okay,
pertaining to this
gotcha,
lot
gotcha.
only. The hotel site had already been approved. This was
Okay.
just specific to these 2 lots that are shaded then.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, because all we looked at before was self-storage, nothing about, the other lot from what, in 2008.
The other lot on the concept plan did show a general like office building type layout,
Right.
but that was just a conceptual plan. You have to go through site plan and we have to verify concurrency there, which would,
And they generate less trips too.
Okay, let me keep going. Tom?
And the
Depending on
trip cap doesn't include the property, the parcel north of the hotel?
no, just these 2
these
areas that
two.
are shaded on
Alright, so
lot
it's
1 and
3
lot
on
2.
1. All right.
It's just
So-
one road.
What, is there any idea of how much square footage we could put into that lot 1 then? Of space?
It's gonna depend on the type of use,
Trip,
the
yeah.
parking that they need,
I get that.
on that one there. like I said, without having any type of site, we'd have to address that time the site plan has been submitted. You know, the codes are basically going to limit what can be done on that property.
From what I saw on here, Tim, it looked like they were meeting the bare minimum for expectations. They're required to have like 1.01 acres of I would say green space. Tree preservation.
Tree preservation,
And
yeah.
they've got 1.02. I mean, they're like hitting the bare minimum on what this place is going to look like.
That's barely
Is that
15,
accurate?
Yeah, 15%.
I mean, they're meeting, you know, the codes and what was established in that 2008 concept plan that was approved here.
Okay.
So they're meeting the codes that are before them.
What's on the south and the east sides of these two
That
parcels?
Boyle Street, that's residential.
It's basically residential on the toward the east here, and to the south is the residential.
We're not seeing your mouse move.
Oh.
I assume that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
So the
We
south
actually-
side is residential, on the west east side is residential.
Yeah, because we
Right.
actually asked them originally that they're going to put a big buffer because the house, I think they're on Bogsford, right? Those
I
lots.
believe there's a 25-foot setback from the building and then a minimum 20-foot landscape buffer
Right.
on those two sides then.
So is that buffer also tree preservation? So they're not altering anything that's existing there and leaving the natural buffer with the trees in the shaded areas over in the overall subdivision plan?
Well,
C2?
that's, we get more into that with the specific site plan on those areas. I know that basically there's gonna, I mean, we'd try to work with them to save as much as the existing
just-
vegetation that's there.
Yeah.
But I don't have that in front of me with this particular application, since this is mainly just dividing the land.
Yeah, it's just my concern because I know that's going to be used for some type of commercial work. You only have a 25-foot vegetation buffer, and then you got Boyle Street and the residential area right to the south of it. So I just wanted to know how much of this type of lot development will affect the residential area, because you know how residentials don't like commercial projects going on in their areas. So this is just a concern.
I mean, we're gonna have the building setback, with the 25-foot
Uh-huh.
is the building setback, that's in the codes, that's basically the closest they'll be able to get to the property. And then in the MDA, it calls out a 20-foot landscape buffer on those ends, so they'll be required to plant those 20-foot landscape buffers. There's existing trees in there that are specimen trees, they'll have to remain.
Okay.
But we'll have to work with the applicant with
Hang
that
on,
site
sir.
plan as to what's
You
preserved.
got out of turn, I'm still talking. to
Yeah, no, I was
I'm
picking up
talking to
where
Tom.
you-
Yeah, I don't know where that
Hang
Let's
on, sir, I
hijack the
was
conversation. Well, that was where I was headed with this conversation, was the lines that I see, the cross-hatched areas there, those are just the minimum requirements? Is that what we're seeing? These are not actual
Yeah,
site
either,
plans?
I mean, for the subdivision, the key is, you know, you have to have 15%, so they're gonna show the 15%. Once we get in the site plan, more specific, you know,
Right.
and the more details required at the time.
And that's really
is
what I
when
wanted to
we'll
know.
work that.
These lines are just
It's basically just to
That's
create the
meeting
lot
the
there.
minimum requirement.
That's just.
And once we get to the site plan is when we
No,
get
no,
the
no.
actual
No, I'm talking
numbers.
Oh, the real drawings. These.
Too many words.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I want to know. So it's just all an idea, just
No.
enough to meet the minimum.
All right, what are the permitted uses for lot 1?
It has it over here. Restaurant, retail.
Restaurants, retails, services, offices, and banks.
Okay, and with the shape of lot 2 taking the frontage all the way across in front of lot 1, are they going to share access driveway with somebody? How is this working?
This is all, again, the MDA amendment that was approved in 08 basically created essentially that access would be shared for lot 1, and lot 2 would basically tie into that Journey's Inn way.
Because my fear here is we approve the self-storage for lot 2, and then lot 1 becomes phase 2 of lot 2. Becomes the second phase of the self-storage.
It wouldn't be, it would have to come back for another MDA amendment,
Yeah.
because self-storage is not a permitted use on lot 1.
Right. And actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea because you have less trip generation.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it is.
The way the MDA was written, it basically stated that they're going to extend the road, as we indicated here, Journey's End, and basically lot 1 and lot 2 essentially have shared access. So it's written in the MDA that's how it's supposed, you know, that's essentially the development requirements for both lot 1 and 2.
Tim, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the use of it and what it's going to, you know, what's going to be wind up there. And Lance was saying earlier, is they shape the lot this way so that they can get the square footage for their conservation area and for the size of their building. And I mean, basically, I'm not seeing a whole lot of way to use Lot 1 without driving across Lot 2 to get there, or coming
Yeah, that's
across
weird.
the motel's parking lot.
I mean, on here they've got
I mean,
the
if you
road
look at
stubs out
page
into it,
C2,
and we've had, you know, multiple other sites where you have to basically, you know, the access drive
Yeah.
that goes
have
across
that agreement,
95
right?
is essentially almost a roadway there.
Yeah.
And basically Lot 2 will basically
much
pull
what
off
it
of that
is.
one. There'll be cross-access easements that are required,
Right.
and that's, you know, guaranteed in the plat and then the MDA.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Tim? And maybe you can answer this question. You know,
Go ahead, Mike.
South of Lot 2, there's land there. Is that developed land, or is that, you know, going south, looking south?
That's residential,
Is that
that's
still,
Boyle
that's
Street.
right, that's budding right up, okay. I
That's
can see.
established
Okay.
residential.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
What about right behind Country Inn and Suites?
Residential.
Right here, that's
It's all
established
it's all
residential.
Newton,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
got?
that's my concern. That's
Okay, so Tim, here's the deal, and again, you know, you worked with me a long time up here. And so what I've got is I've got a commercial piece of property running into a residential district. A residential district has been there a long time. I got 9 individual lots that I see that butt this storage building. And so my main goal sitting up here is to make sure that we buffer that building and that thing from our residential, established residential. Now, already though, I'm looking at it, and there was already an article in the paper that Port Orange is having an influx of storage units. We got one coming at the corner of Williamson and Taylor Road right there. They're talking about a 5-story building and storage building, and then we're gonna put one down at the sanctuary we've already approved. I'm just amazed at this influx, I guess I should say. Now, I understand, you know, we have framework for what can be established here, but again, back to this building, this is I have the same feeling as this as I had about the one in the sanctuary. I want to make sure that this thing, if it goes, is buffered the right way. Does this MDA cover that? I mean, other than just a 25-foot or just a?
That's what the MDA that got approved in 08, you know, the minimum requirements was for that type of buffer there. The applicants here, you could speak more, they might have more information regarding the design of
High
that
walls
buffer.
again,
What's the,
Well,
high walls again, and
I think,
back when we approved that, though, I mean, we didn't have the traffic issues that we had there. We, you
I
know,
would say
Okay.
2008 is a long time ago.
I mean, so right now we got on lot 2, it's just a 25-foot buffer along the residential zone.
it's a 25-foot building setback with a 20-foot landscape buffer.
the 45
Okay, so
feet.
potentially
20 foot.
40. So, but what if there was a wall to be put in? Where would the wall go?
Basically on this one, what the MDA was designed was basically essentially you have they choose to face the buildings, the storage buildings, or the back of the storage buildings. Essentially the blank brick wall, basically, or the wall then, will basically serve as the screen wall for that development then. So
But
basically.
is it on the property line or? Is
No,
it?
it would be the building. So
Oh,
basically, the residents would look back, they'd see a 20-foot buffer,
and then
5
the
feet of
wall.
space, then the back of a storage building with the roof then to screen them from basically the insides of a storage facility.
Okay.
This won't be a 2-story or 3-story.
Chair, I have
We
a
don't
question.
Go ahead.
Too.
Regarding the traffic, because we know we're isolating everything on the Journey's End Way. Is there any further discussions where they may possibly put in a road from the Bogsford Road or any in that area to go into this back? Because personally, I do like the isolated traffic in those lots. And living off of Taylor Road, I've never really seen a lot of traffic in those businesses right now with the Mellow Mushrooms and the hotel. So is this going to stay like this with just that one in and one out road?
Yes.
So it's not going to go through residential? Okay. All right. No, that's good.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I happen to know that there is someone looking to build a hotel in this area. What has to happen if we approve this? Will they still have to come before here? Because that obviously will increase the trip, right?
A hotel in,
I don't know
On
where.
lot one?
There's-
Well, I just know by Country Inn and Suites, there's somebody looking to build a hotel.
I don't know where they built it.
No.
if it,
He
if it,
said
if-
behind Country Inn and Suites, but if that's residential, he must mean
But
back
this-
here.
But it's not allowed, that, those
if it
aren't-
would be on
those
lot
uses
one,
aren't-
we'd have to do an MDA amendment and
Yeah.
concept plan, and have to come before this board, and then city council for approval.
And it would have to be on lot one, and that would not be very much space. I mean,
Right.
potentially. But
Because
then,
outside the hotel, I mean, it's,
well,
but it would require amendments and zoning changes that have to go through the public hearing process to get a hotel as a permitted use, possibly get one on that lot. Right now, it's
I
not a
mean, there's
permitted
other
use.
I'm
hotel
just-
sites in Port Orange, but I don't know that that's one.
well, I'm
It's
just
not-
telling you, there's somebody looking at it,
Okay.
and my worry is, so now we have a storage unit and a hotel and 2 restaurants, and that's going to increase the trip because no matter what your trip generation is for north or south, it's all the same road. So it's still going to be quite a mess down there. I
Well,
think.
Journey's End Way is not gonna be the traffic problem, you know what I mean? That's your one way in
No,
and
it's
out of the
going in
business.
out.
It's gonna be up here at Boxford Road is where
Right.
your traffic problem's gonna be.
Right.
but-
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
wow.
Well, we have control over that, and so does the city council, if a hotel or a motel or hotel, whatever, wanted to come in there. But, I mean, they're limited because of the trip generation. And so a
Right,
hotel
that's
will probably
right.
exceed that.
Who's the applicant on lot 2?
Mark Dowse is the engineer for the applicant, and he's here to speak on their behalf.
Okay.
Any more questions for me?
Not yet.
Just for
I
lot
have
two.
one. I have one question. I noticed they're out of Stewart, Florida, based on the design. These aren't the same people that did the one down there at Airport Road, weren't they out of Stewart?
No, different group than.
Thanks, Tim. Really?
So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Mark Doust. I'm an engineer with the firm Mark Doust and Associates. Our offices are located at 536 North Halifax, Daytona Beach. And it's a pleasure to be here tonight. We actually were the engineers who did the original Journey's End subdivision and came back and did the hotel after that. This piece, as Tim mentioned, was added in 2008, and that's when the uses were established. It was a real detailed PUD. It actually laid out the uses and also laid out the lot configuration. So this plat that you have before you doesn't really have anything to do with the uses. It's not affecting the uses, changing them in any way or form. It just simply follows that blueprint that was laid out in 2008. The owner of the property is Todd Marshall, and he has received a contract for purchase on Lot 2, and this plat will allow that lot to be sold. The construction that's actually part of this plat is really just a short little piece of road. There's a very short piece of road. I think it's about 80, 90 feet of right-of-way that's extended. And then you have the water and sewer that is extended in that. That's all that really gets authorized by this. There's a small addition to the stormwater pond, but that comes later with a site plan. With me tonight I have Philip Hollis, and he's the contract purchaser of Lot 2. And we also have members of the neighborhoods to the south and the east, which we had the pleasure of meeting with last Friday night. Dexter is a realtor who lives in the area, and he was so kind to kind of assemble them for us. And so at that meeting, we kind of went over what's happening out there, the site plan, and so forth. Of course, the site plan is not before you tonight, but I'm here to answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you, Mark. And again, I sat up here in 2008 when this thing came in front of us, and I can tell you that in 2008, my number one concern was how I buffer this from those 9 residents who
Sure.
have lived there a long, long time, and that's my main concern is
Sure.
how are we buffering this business from residential, and it always has been.
Right.
So with that being said, Newton, you got something with Mr. Doust?
Unless he can shed more light on what you plan on doing with Lot 1 and how you plan on accessing it, because I see there's a difference between the blueprint drawings and what I'm seeing in the graphic, and I'm just looking at it on the property record now to see if the aerial there is any better, and that's my concern, is what comes of Lot 1,
Sure.
because right now to me it looks landlocked.
Sure. Well, if there's anything that could be done to clarify the graphic you're looking at, is it shows lot 2, but there's actually a short stub of right-of-way that is shown as being part of lot 2. I don't know if I can use this mouse.
Mm-hmm.
This area right here, this little piece right here, is actually an extension of the right-of-way. So you have lot 1, which can access right at that point, or it can also access anywhere along in here because the PCD set forth a cross-access easement in that area. And originally back when this PCD was done, it contemplated multiple uses, but on lot 2 it was always thought that that would probably be self-storage, even though it allowed for a couple other uses. And then lot 1 was always envisioned to be like offices and to have 2 access points. So it was actually very descriptive. They had like a layout in there and everything. Now lot 2 could be storage under the PCD, could be storage, could be a nursing home, or it could be business and financial services. Of those 3 uses, the best one, hands down, to buffer with a neighborhood would be self-storage. We've designed several of these communities or storage facilities over the years, and typically we have found the best approach is to not put the wall on the property line, but set the buildings back from the property line, use a material on the outside of the walls that is compatible, like a typical screening wall. So this one, instead of being metal, which obviously wouldn't be any good, or block or stucco, which requires a lot of maintenance, it's actually split face block. So it maintains a natural appearance, actually requires very little maintenance, it blends really good. We do have a pretty good tree cover in that whole area. So around the perimeter, there will be the self-storage that backs up to the south and to the east line, which actually becomes a very good buffer towards anything that could ever be built on lot 1, in our opinion. Although it's a site plan element, not really part of what's being discussed tonight, I will tell you that the buffer, which would be on the south side and the east side, it's 25 feet, and the intention is to save as much material as we can in that area, and then also supplement it. So we'd go in there and supplement it. Obviously, if we have great natural vegetation, that's the last thing in the world we want to touch. We want to enhance it, make it look better, and so forth. And when we met with the residents last Friday night, those were some of the things we talked about. And we thought it was a very good meeting, and we also thought that of any of the uses that could go there, definitely self-storage would be the best one to be an interface between lot 1 and the residential community.
Okay, Newton, and I think, like I said, on C2 here, you can kind of see that access point is on there.
Yeah,
That
that was.
they got to
discrepancy.
have a drive, obviously.
Yeah, that's
so.
the discrepancy that I was
Okay.
looking to find, and that's,
Are you good,
I'm good.
Tom?
My 2 comments are the minimum standards met for the tree preservation, and the fact that the buffers, you can stand here and say our intention would be to keep everything, but literally you could rip everything out if you wanted to.
Well, at this point, I guess you could.
Yeah, I mean legally,
Not
that's what
looking at
we're
a site plan.
allowing you to do.
And that's true, you could. However, that is not the intent, and we do have a site plan that's already been submitted that shows our intent.
Yeah, and we don't get to see
Yeah,
that now, and that's not what we're discussing.
Yeah, once we lay down the
So-
groundwork, you can go, your door's open,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Those are my 2 comments, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Yeah, like Lance, I was up here in 2008 when we approved the self-storage back there, and we had a lot of discussion about the houses behind there have been there for a long time.
Yep.
And noise and security was a big
correct.
thing. Is this going to be a gated?
Both those comments came up Friday night, and it is going to be a gated community, a gated facility.
Right.
It will also have several cameras that are internally directed, and also down the road. So if anybody comes into this facility, they will be seen and captured on cameras that are always accessible by police if they need be. The other comment that came up was, I guess people enter through this property and get into the backyards. So one of the comments we talked about with the neighborhood was, how do you secure this area?
Yeah, that was my question. That was my next
Yeah, and
question.
it was a very good question. And so really the buildings themselves become the barrier. There was a couple of comments where along the east line, there's fences that go all the way down the property lines that are owned by the residents. And one comment was, can we take a fence from our, it'd be our northeast corner on lot 2, which you're not seeing any buildings, and actually take it back to their fence, like a cutoff fence. So in other words, if someone came into this property, they couldn't get behind our buildings and access those lots. So we thought that was a good idea, and we're adding that to the site plan. Likewise, at the southwest corner of Lot 2, there's a similar concern. Can someone come around the building on that side and get into that 25-foot? And so we're going to add a cutoff fence there too. So we thought those were very good
By
ideas.
cutoff fence, what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is that
Basically blocks them off from the
Yeah.
it goes to
It's
the
not-
building to the, it's cutting off the
Okay.
property from
Right.
you
So it's just gonna be
getting
attached to the building.
access,
Yes.
yeah.
And
so they couldn't do an
attached
end
to-
run around the building.
But across the back though, or you, I mean, on the east side of the property, are you gonna fence that in too along with the buffer? Or because,
No.
just because
The
residents
fence is gonna
have,
be up by the buildings.
Right.
you're gonna have a fence all the way around it?
We're going to have the building as the actual barrier, which is 25 feet off the property
Mhm.
line. So when the residents look at the site, what they're going to see is they're going to see 25 foot of natural vegetation, planted vegetation, and then, if it's, there'll be the wall behind that, which is.
So the fence is gonna go right up to it, so you can't get behind there unless you're
Correct.
inside the compound.
That's correct. That was the thought, based upon, the comments we received and what we thought in conjunction with them was the best way to address that. I thought it was a good solution too.
Okay. Good.
What about light?
Light has to be shielded and directed towards the inside. So you don't have any wall packs on the back of this building or anything like that. So all lights are directed internally. And I think also this facility will probably go a long ways with, because you have traffic that comes over the overpass, and these buildings will probably help block some of
Buffer.
that light that would naturally get into the back of that subdivision.
And it's not really lot 2 that I'm really concerned about, it's lot 1 in trip counts.
Yeah.
And we are gonna be jamming a lot of stuff down on that little road. I mean, we got another tiki restaurant or bar coming, my Mellow Mushroom, and there's another lot that's probably going to be potential
Sure.
a restaurant.
Sure.
This becomes a multi-tenant restaurant, whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know how large the building
Well-
can be on it. And I know it's not your fault, but we gotta look at the concurrencies, and I know
Sure.
you guys are gonna have to look at it when it comes down to whether it's fair share or whatever it's gonna be. But, we're gonna be jamming a lot of traffic near a residential area.
Well, I think a key component of that discussion in 2008 was traffic, and so they put that cap, and it's 300 and something trips for both of these lots. So this lot 2 is going to chew up a little bit of that, but 300 trips is not a lot.
Right.
It really isn't. So they couldn't build anything. They could build. I think if you look at that trip count, you could build, some offices, because offices don't generate a lot. But if you get into retail or something like that, or a hotel, that would generate a lot more. They'd have to come back and deal with that concurrency and traffic cap issue.
Well, and back in 2008, though, we didn't have Mellow Mushroom. We had approved
That's
those
right.
3 lots.
That's right.
But for potential restaurants down the road, but those weren't there. And I think Country Inn and Suites, I think, was there. I can't remember if that was, yeah, it was there because they're the ones who were applying for the storage
It
facility.
took a long time to get that one off the ground.
Right, yeah, I know.
Okay.
Redo it. I'm done.
Good. Mark, so the retention pond and the addition that you're adding for both lots 1 and 2, that suffices all those lots there?
Actually not. What's being added right now is an addition that will take care of the projected impervious area for lot 2 only. And then when lot 1 comes in, depending upon its impervious area, because if it's not very impervious, it doesn't need as much. If it's real impervious, it needs more. So it'd be
Really?
customized.
Really? So that provision to the retention is just for lot 2?
It is
Even
just,
though I like it going across the back of lot 1.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
More of a
That's the
buffer.
natural buffer, but,
Yeah.
okay. You got anything for Mark?
I'm good.
John?
Just, again, I'm trying to suck this all in. You have that preservation, now it says proposed tree preservation, and then it says tree preservation required.
Mhm.
So you're gonna be, as stated on C2, this is proposed preservation. That's what you're looking for, correct?
That's correct.
On lot 2, on
we-
south side.
That's correct. We are
Okay.
required to show when we plat
Okay.
where those 15% can
And
be
then
met.
on the south side, where
Mhm.
it shows the preservation,
Right?
the back wall of the building will be how close to that preservation buffer? Will it be,
Be right on it.
well, it will be
5.
right on, so that's basically the rear setback of the building, is it 25 feet? Because it jogs a little bit, it looks like it goes from 25 to 30.
Yeah, I believe it is, and I'll tell you, at the beginning of this, there was a little ambiguity in one of the setbacks. And so when we did the site plan, we ended up going with the larger setback. It was a textual thing versus the graphic in there. And that may be what that's about, but in our site plan, it all lines up 25
So
feet
it would
off.
go straight across, probably meeting the 30-foot setback, the larger tree preservation buffer, the one on the east side.
Well, the east side, I believe, is also 20.
Because it jogs.
Yes.
I mean, if you see the,
Yes, I
if
do
you
see
see
that.
C2, you see the preservation jogs inward south and then runs toward 95 in a smaller buffer.
Well, this
And
is
I'm
just-
just trying to
Yeah.
find out where your building wall is going to be in
Oh.
reference to that point.
Well, I'll tell you where it's going to be. It's going to be 25 feet off that south line. And if you look at the graphic scale up top, kind of upper left-hand corner on sheet C2, it would appear that the narrower buffer looks like, to me, it's less than 20 feet shown here.
Okay.
So in other words, this may show something less than what we actually end up with on the site plan. These are just the minimums.
Okay, so the back side of the building is actually serving as a security wall.
Correct. And as
Okay.
like a screen wall, too.
Right, and that's probably going to be what, 20 feet high? How high is this wall projected to
No,
be?
typically it's about, this is going to be, there's a building proposed in the front that
Mhm.
is taller, but most of the facility, which is the U-shaped facility on the east side, is approximately 8 feet tall, because they're just a one-story, that typical
Oh, it's a
one-
single story, 8 feet high?
Correct.
And
no-
then you got your floor trusses, it's going to be a flat
They're
roof?
just like, yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
Now,
Those
just to be
large doors.
fully transparent, in the southwest corner, there is proposed a 3-story building,
Mhm.
but it will not have any openings on the south side.
so theoretically, from the residential side,
Mm-hmm.
you can basically walk parallel on their property all the way across from one end to the other, and you're going to have a connecting fence to prevent them from coming into the main.
Correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
all right.
Now, most of the people do have fences, but
Right.
it's still, they still get to enjoy the visual
Mhm.
space and the landscaping with this
All right.
design.
I'm just trying to visualize the whole thing, because our last one had a projected height wall with a vegetation barrier so that the tenants could not see the building. It was covered by the buffer and the fence, so where
Right.
they were, the angle where they were at, you could not see the building.
I see.
And this is a different setup,
Correct.
so I'm trying to visualize
Right.
how it would be done. And you're maximizing property by putting the building in the southerly point of the property line to get maximum space to the north side, so it makes sense.
We've actually designed these facilities both ways, where we
Mhm.
put the wall on the line and then a buffer, but then when I put the wall on the property line, then the residents can't see the landscaping. It's on the other side of the wall, and it doesn't really do the same. I have found that they prefer to have the open space on their side,
Okay.
so that's why we use that design.
And I
primarily.
would too. I prefer the green area as much as we
Yeah.
can between that and
Yeah.
the buildings. Now, you just really kind of blew my mind for a second. You said a 3-story building on this property?
There is a 3-story building in the site plan. It's not part of your application tonight.
Is there a height limit on this property?
45 probably.
Really?
But that'll be facing 95 though.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah,
north.
they won't see that.
Well,
Well, they might see the roof.
again, it's not part of what you're looking at tonight, but it is in the northwest corner.
Oh, I mean, it's gonna be
Northwest or
backing up to Ron
Southwest
Sutherland's
or-
property.
Southwest, thank you.
Southwest?
Somebody's
Southwest,
property.
correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could understand the 8-foot buildings, because kind of low profile. I've built those buildings. I know
Mhm.
exactly what they are. But when you just came up with a 3-story on the front, I was like, wow.
Mhm.
That just kind of blows my mind on that particular,
I mean, that's
thing.
normally
Because
what you
those
have.
lots on the south side are gonna see more than that than the lots on the east side.
Again, that's not, unusual. I mean, most single-family classifications allow a 35-foot height limit. So I think that's typically where that comes from. If you have an interface with residential, they try and keep it 35 feet or less, which is typically the height limit we have on the residential and, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion for Mr. Dowse?
I'm good.
Okay. Anybody from the public want to come speak to this?
Of course they do.
We know Dexter does. Dexter's got to get clocked in, get paid.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Dexter Kopp. I live at 917 Boyd Street, and actually will be abutting where this property is proposed to be being developed at. I actually did go ahead and make a few different copies of basically what I'd been shared with is the site plan, and of course there's a couple of photos in here as well. So if you'd like, I'd like to go ahead and pass these out to each and every one of you guys.
Thank you, Dexter.
Where exactly are you, Dexter, in relationship to the property?
I am right there at the south, almost the southwest.
Okay.
Right there at the property.
Getting one for the clerk.
So right
Two
now,
different-
you're closer to 95, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're actually the next property over from 95. And actually, I think I've got another folder.
There you are, I see you.
Yeah, we
You're
actually
lot 5 and
downsized
lot
about
6.
a year or so ago and bought back over there. One of the reasons being was it's nice and quiet for the most part, and I got a nice sized piece of property that backed up to an empty piece of commercial property that, of course, I didn't think would be selling anytime soon. Well, of course, to my surprise, here we are. We've got a developer that's looking to go ahead and develop, and being in real estate for the last 18 years, I kind of have it as a responsibility for myself to make sure that, you know, whatever's going to be developed is going to be advantageous to the city of Port Orange as well as for the surrounding neighbors.
And to you too.
Well, absolutely. So, you know, I mean, the storage facility, in my opinion, is probably a pretty good thing to have there. You know, I'm kind of a little concerned with that 3-story building. I'd also spoken with Philip in regards to the color of the band on the building. And there were a few different things that were actually brought up in the meeting that we had actually discussed. And in the back of that little thing that I put together there, I also took a picture of a few different types of fencing. You know, they're saying to leave it as an open buffer area, and a couple of the neighbors, I guess, had discussed about the gate that Mark was discussing with you as well. I still feel it's in the best interest of everybody to actually have some type of a fence on the border. I mean, it would kind of be nice to have one of those aluminum fences or an iron fence or something so you can actually still see the open area back there, but at the same time, so that there's not people from other neighboring properties walking through there and getting in the back of other people's properties, you know? I mean, right now, the way it is, there's kind of a rough barbed wire fence there, and it's all natural vegetation back there right now, but, you know, so these are just kind of a couple of the ideas that I've got involved here as far as for neighbors, and
What, go ahead and let him continue?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
you know, but basically I'm kind of the voice of the neighborhood because I went ahead and I volunteered to go ahead and do a little neighborhood meeting so we could actually meet the developer and kind of see what was going on. And of course they've shared with us, and like I said, I mean, I think that it's probably best, and in traffic count, of course, is one of our concerns, because some days trying to get out of Bogsford Road right there where Taylor's meeting, I mean, there's a lot of people that are getting a little upset with how that traffic's getting backed up. And I think one of the worst things that the city did, or DOT did, or whatever, is not allowing that left-hand turn there at the end of Taylor Extension, you know?
Yeah, that was
I still think that needs to
I
be
agree.
That was
changed.
DOT.
Yeah, so,
And a lot of your traffic there is the schools, so I'm assuming that gets better in the summer.
Peak, but you got peak times, you know?
Well, yeah,
yes
of
and no,
course.
because you get problems with traffic in the morning, you get problems with traffic in the evening, people coming back from work, you know, I mean, it's just,
The
it's one of
worst
those
is the
things.
mornings with the 2 school zones, the high school and the elementary schools.
It's like trying to get out of Yorktown in the morning. You know, you go down Bogsford down to Yorktown and get out there by BJ's. You want to turn left to get to 95. You're going to sit there through 2 or
you're
3
sitting
lights.
there.
Oh, yeah.
For
You know,
sure.
it's ridiculous.
Well,
I
at least
agree.
they put the U-turn in on Dunlawton.
Couldn't help
The
them.
people still turn in front of
You
Target.
know, it's
don't
just
get
like
us
it's just
started.
like this other thing that they're talking about doing in front of Target. I mean, you know, turning lanes. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to put another light in there, and something's going to be done. But
All right, thank you, Dexter.
all right, guys, I appreciate your listening.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else want to come speak to this?
My name is Tom Allen. I live at 5831 Bogsford Road. I'm directly behind Lot 1. My understanding is they're going to run this retention pond behind me,
Bless you.
and I want to make sure that, are they going to do that when they do this Lot 2 construction? Or are they going to do it then?
Well, they'd have to because it is the retention for lot 2.
Okay.
It's not the retention for lot 1, even though it goes across the back of lot
right.
1. If
See,
I'm
that'll-
saying that right, right, Mark?
That's what he said, yeah.
Okay.
That's that
But
little,
it's for lot 2
Not for lot 1.
or lot
Yeah.
what?
No, lot 2. he's
It's
right.
for
That's
lot
what he said.
2.
it's this area right here. There.
Yeah, so it'd be, if I orient that, it'd be all along the back there.
Okay.
Which would be the retention.
So I think
for
the
lot
answer
2.
is yes, sir.
Yes, okay, good. Because that's directly behind me right there.
So you would be backing up to that retention pond.
Right, that's right. Yeah. That was the only thing I had to say. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I've got
Anybody
another question.
else?
I got a question.
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
Tim, if everybody's done.
Come on up, Tim.
When I look at the traffic counts here, Tim, on Taylor Road, I think Dunlawton to Clyde Morris, it looks like what it's telling me is the adopted LOS is 13,640, and we're 13,110 now, or actually as of 2016. I figured he knew that off the top of his head. Page 12 in the.
Right, I got it right here.
Yeah. So it tells me that, I assume I'm reading the right space there. So on Taylor Road, Dunlawton to Clyde Morris is the big curve.
Correct, in that area.
What it tells me is we got about 330 trips available before we hit the LOS.
Right, in that area, which we're working that with the site plan review.
Yeah,
So,
I get
we
that.
probably, we'll have to do mitigation on that one most likely because that is designated as a constrained area. There's no additional right-of-way that could be purchased, so we'll have to look for alternatives for improvements there.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to
But,
confirm
you know,
what I thought.
Commissioner, basically, that area is congested. We have 2 schools in that area that we've got to, work around with concurrency on that area too. Then.
Yep.
I just want to clarify too, the concept plan back in 2008, it did indicate basically the possibility of the 3-story building there too, with that plan then. So the 3-story storage building was contemplated back in 08 at that time in that location that is being proposed along I-95 then.
But didn't it stipulate that if it was the higher you are, the further off the property line you have to be, or no?
No, just gave the basically standard setbacks requirements that we had then.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about it too. And Tim, let me ask you
Go ahead.
something. Has there ever been any talk about, I know that Chief Monahan was totally against that Taylor branch closing left turns. Is there ever a possibility of getting that restored back to the left turn off Taylor branch? I mean, is there any way of trying, because when we start to do more development like there, I mean, it really does put a lot of pressure on Yorktown, the extension.
Maybe that'd be with FDOT. FDOT, I mean, their directive was basically to eliminate as many lights as possible in that area around I-95. If you look at up and down this area of Volusia County, we have the most concentrated amount of lights near our I-95 in Williamson, which is basically, unfortunately, that's the roadway configuration we have. I mean, if Williamson was pushed out another half mile,
yeah,
there. So
But
basically,
there's still a light there.
Well, it was originally not supposed to be there. Something happened. Basically, that's how you got basically kind of like the light there. Essentially, it was supposed to be to stop for the pedestrian access across there.
Right.
Is what led to that
Well,
light
but
there.
now that it's there, can we just make a left?
Well, here's what. But here's what happened.
Calling that one. I think that
Well,
they were.
I mean, I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to push traffic onto the Yorktown
Right.
extension.
Well, no, but here's what happened though, Mike, because it was back when the light was there. What was happening is people were running that light and they were sitting across the road, and all of a sudden now you couldn't get a fire truck or an ambulance through.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a life safety issue, where the traffic was blocking the road, where you couldn't get emergency vehicles through, and that's when the county said no more. So they moved, you know what I mean? So people weren't trying to run that light and clog that intersection.
But what, like Dexter said, though, I mean, if you're coming down, if you're going from Boxford and Yorktown early in the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, you're trying to turn left, because that's the only way to go. I mean, number one, you take your life in your hands because people coming out of BJ's, can hit you. But then the left turn lane is double lane and it's still backed up in front of that entrance coming out of BJ's. So you have a congestion there. Now you add to it some 300 more trips. On that
That's
road.
300 trips over a 24-hour period, not at
But see, here's my
8 o'clock in the morning.
But you know what I'm saying is, I mean, I know you're dealing with the numbers, but what I'm saying is that just the reality is that it might be at peak hours, might be at certain times of the day. But I'll go down there, and but I'm driving down there all the time, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is. You still have to sit through a light, at least 1 or 2 lights turning on to Dunlawton. So if you had another way of easing some of that traffic there, And that's my opinion. I mean,
But
because
see, Mike, this is where the fair share, I think, should come in, and where we would say, okay, if we have fair share from here or the other one we just talked about, and maybe it needs to go over to the Yorktown Light to maybe for signalization or whatever it may be.
expanding it internally.
You know what I mean?
Closing
Yeah.
off that
But-
one driveway.
Okay. All right, anything else, Tim? Thank you, Tim.
I had one
Hold
more
on,
question.
we're not done, Tim.
He was talking about the easement or the retention that's going to be the stormwater on the back of his property. Is there an easement between that? Is there another natural easement there?
On the plat, there is, I have it up here, but on the plat, then
mean, it
basically,
looks kinda
there is
set
an
off,
area designated as stormwater easement, and that easement area is for the stormwater for Lot 1, and then the expansion for Lot 2 and the expansion for Lot 1. So all that stormwater is basically a designated area, and it's on the plat, so that's where it's going to go when they develop.
Okay, that's
Also,
what I
too,
wanted
just
to
want to
make
mention
sure.
on the plat too, it does call out the need for basically cross-access requirements between the two lots then. So the plat guarantees that Lot 1 and 2 will need to provide cross-access for both there. So it is per the plat then. So the configuration will still be worked out at site plan level, but the requirements for cross-access are in that plat as a requirement.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Anybody from the public, anybody else want to talk about it? Entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve case number 17500000007.
Second.
Any further discussion? Let's call the roll, please.
Tom Hucko.
Yes.
Maria Middleton.
Yes.
Mike Arminio.
Yes.
Thomas Jordan.
No.
Newton White.
Yes.
Lance Green.
No. Passes 4-2. Okay.
Thank you.
Where are we at?
All right. What we got? The public hearing of the development calendar?
But then with all the red marks.
Okay, I got a bunch of questions.
Not yet.
Highlighted a lot of issues.
A lot of dates.
Yeah.
Run now, Tim. Run now.
Yeah, we gotta go do the
So
calendar.
basically just our Tim Urban Community Development, just our calendars for next year, both our planning commission meetings, and then also our development review committee meetings that we have. In the calendars and for December next year, we actually moved it up 2 weeks because we have the same situation we have next month here. So we've kind of learned our lesson this time. And then also, of course, we moved the one up in November a week earlier due to the Thanksgiving holiday. The rest of them are on the 4th Thursday of the month then.
Okay.
January.
If you're going to miss any of these meetings, want a permission slip, turn in before you leave.
And you guys know exactly where you can put it.
Hey, of any of these meetings? Okay.
We'll
I
get
think
right
it all
on that.
looks good to me. Do we need to vote on this?
I think
Okay.
some type of approval is all we need on that then. Yep.
Okay, Mike? Can I get approval? Can I entertain a
Tim, was it?
motion?
Make a motion to approve the dates.
I think there's a
Second.
typo, actually. If I could correct something on the application deadlines column, the last one should be January 23rd. Oops, sorry, 2019 at the very last one.
Oh, yeah.
Tom's always got to find that typo.
Fine tooth comb.
He studied and studied that thing and he found it.
How do you know the person that typed it didn't have a broken hand or something? You know?
Yeah, we'll adjust it to be 2019 on that last item on January then.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Comprehensive Plan Capital Improvements Element, the CIE.
Penelope Cruz, planner. So we do this every year. It's required by state law. It's nothing that's creating anything new. It's basically just taking the already adopted capital improvements program that the council recently adopted a few months ago and taking those items that are related to concurrency and putting them into the comprehensive plan per state law. So,
Okay.
any questions?
And I do have a question, and I have to question the report itself. Why doesn't police and fire, why are they not in this
Because they're
review?
not concurrency facilities. The only thing that you're required by state law to have as a concurrency facility are the items that are in there.
Okay.
Water, sewer, stormwater, public schools. Parks are actually, we actually have more now because they actually reduced what's required for parks. You're only required to have acreage, you don't necessarily have to have all those, but we still have the way it used to be back in the day, all the individual facilities, but it's just those facilities that are required for concurrency purposes. The city still has its own standards, and we still are able to fund police and fire and whatever, but we're just not mandated by the state to set a level of service standard.
Okay.
On that.
I got you.
Let me ask something, Penny. With the stormwater increase, the fee with business and residential, is that going to move any projects up that you know of that are in need, like on the east side of the city? A lot of stormwater issues, obviously, or
not in this current CIP because it just
like
got.
1920.
We'd have to look. It would be whatever's in the next CIP, but I'm not aware. But this just takes care of the current CIP for this fiscal year.
You have to have the funds.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So next year, it should be.
And it's going to be dependent on the master stormwater plan and all those. There's a lot of analysis that's being done citywide to prioritize projects and things like that. So it's going to be dependent on that as well as the funding accumulating.
Tom?
I'm good, thank you.
No.
I'm good.
Anybody?
I'm good.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to it? Motion?
You lost your audience. Make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan capital improvement development.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Tom Chunka.
Yes.
Maria Mills Bennett.
Yes.
Mike Arminio.
Yes.
Thomas Jordan.
Yes.
Newton White.
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. Thank you, Penelope. All
A
right.
little scared.
Commissioner comments?
How about the concurrency management?
No, we got one more.
Yeah.
Where? Did I miss it?
Yeah, it's a currency
Oh.
management report.
Oh,
I got
man.
some-
Okay.
I got me some questions.
All right.
Same ones I did.
Yeah.
Case number
Nobody's figured
17-275-00001, comprehensive plan and capital improvement development. Is that the right one?
Nope.
No.
No.
Other
Just-
business item
Just
10.
concurrency management report.
Oh.
It's just a report. We don't have to
That's
do
what I
anything
thought.
with
All
it.
right. What are we talking
But
about?
Mike had questions.
Who's coming up? Come on up, Tim.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Come sit down.
You know what I'm going to ask, Penny?
No,
Just,
because-
looking at, not only looking at the traffic concurrency, because I know that we only have 3 on here that are failing, but we have a lot of Ds, and we got a lot of Ds, and we got a lot of Cs, and just looking at some of the road systems that we have and some of the where those C and Ds are is areas that that we've been improving a lot of projects, and I know
Tim, you got nothing to say about this?
I mean, there's a lot of places where you see a C or a D.
Yeah.
The
Stop
adopted
up
level
my
of
roads.
service standard per the state or the county is actually an E. So although C might sound bad because your parents probably didn't want you to get a C at school, when it comes
these
to
aren't grades.
when it comes
I
to road
didn't get Cs.
concurrency,
These aren't grades, these are.
yeah, they're
I've
not
been
grades.
trouble.
They're
What's
just
the level?
it's capacities. So,
No, I read that earlier, but
when you
it's
have a
like-
level of service of E, you're doing good when you're at C. You have to remember, roads cost millions and millions of dollars, and when you spend millions and millions of dollars to build roads, you want to use that capacity. We don't have millions of dollars to go build a lot of things with that. You got to use up what you have. So when you're at a C and your level of service is an E, you're okay.
But a lot of these roads aren't our roads.
Yeah.
We have no control over them. Like Williamson is being.
But we're
the
still
main
coordinating with the agencies that
Right.
do. So,
When I talk
for
to Tim-
example, like, Williamson and Yorktown, we're working with the county. We're working on establishing fair share projects. And,
You're staying late.
we're part of the TPO, and we're constantly working with those agencies to try to plan for additional projects where we can widen. Obviously, Dunlawton is constrained. You don't want, as a community, to have a road wider than Dunlawton, and that ruins the character of your community to add more. So there's other ways to deal with that we're working with the county and the state on as alternative routes, like finishing the construction of Yorktown, and widening Williamson and widening Taylor, where those are planned to be widened.
Well, and one of the things I see, especially down in Dunlawton, which would be a big help, and I think Lance has brought up many times, is about having right turn lanes all the way down there, instead of having every time we approve a project, we say, okay, we want a decel lane for this project. Okay, that's good. But I mean, and I know international, it helps some people use it just as they're going to turn 3 miles up, but But if you have breaks, you know, in between, because that's a lot of times, like when you get down to country lane and places like that where you don't have a turn lane, you know, everybody's stopping, you know, and so that slows down the traffic.
And we do have, I mean, Tim could probably speak to that more, you know, because he's been working with the TPO. We've got a lot of turn lane projects in the pipelines that we're working on getting in specific intersections to help with that flow.
Can Fair Share work with some of those?
Well, some of them we're getting funding from the TPO to
And are
do
there
as
grants
well.
available too, right?
But could Fair Share work on what we said, like the first segment of Yorktown? You know, we talked about getting that first segment
I mean, we're
in.
working to establish a Fair Share project right now for Yorktown.
'Cause I think that would just-
that's in the process right now to get a Fair Share project for that.
That would take so much pressure off of Dunlawton in that core area, but.
Well, we're working on it right now to get that established out of the project, so when projects come in down the road and have trips onto Williamson, basically that allows us to have a mitigation project for them to pay into, so they can continue to develop with Williamson as it is, but then they're paying into Yorktown, which could hopefully alleviate some of that traffic then. So we're setting that up. We've got a couple of projects that are waiting in line for that to get set up, so they basically can pay into it to continue to develop. One of which is what you saw last month, the Westport Reserve subdivision. The one thing that's waiting for that to go to council is that project to be established, and they'll pay and move forward then.
So the Townhelm project right there on Yorktown it's being cleared now.
Yeah.
They paid Fair Share. Is that
GeoSams?
Yeah, GeoSams.
That was developed, 2 years ago when that came in.
Right.
Basically at that time, the numbers for Williamson that we had to use at that time.
Right.
Basically, it just recently is when it crest over the 100%.
So they didn't have to pay Fair Share.
Really?
Pay on that one then, but they
that
did
just
do
don't seem right.
But they did do.
Because we talked so much about that extension being.
But they did do other parts basically related to that extension that basically were beneficial to moving that forward then.
Are we any closer to getting a right of way there yet or not?
We secured the right of way at that point.
No, all the way through.
We're still working with the property
That's
owners
what
in the
I'm
north to get the right of way. So
That's
we're
Karasi.
continuing to work with them on that then, which is going to be the next key step on that.
I remember when I was a kid, my parents were constantly complaining about the traffic on Ridgewood. Now we're begging for traffic to go down Ridgewood, and we're complaining about Dunlop.
If we can
The
funnel them
traffic
down
is
there,
still
that'd be
on
good.
Ridgewood. That's not the thing. The
We put a
traffic is on
couple
Ridgewood.
good
There's
breweries
just
down
no
there.
business.
They'll be coming
Well,
down there.
but the traffic's not nearly
Yeah.
as bad on Ridgewood as it used to be.
Okay.
Before Tim runs away, the thing about that is we're talking, everybody wants to get Yorktown through there and run it to Willow Run, and then that comes into Williamson. When Williamson is obviously the road that needs to be 4-lane, what's the plan? Do we have a plan? Because we're going to be bringing 3 roads together.
Yeah, but you're also trying to get people from the east side to the west side.
Well,
You
Tim and I
know.
had this discussion last.
Well, no, I'm just want to make sure we get something that works, because when you have, if Yorktown comes through
Penelope
100
deserved
yards just east of Williamson, I mean, that's going to be that's going to be another Altamira Village, Bogsford, Taylor Road
There you go.
disaster if we don't do something right
the
there. I
question
don't want to
regarding-
repeat history.
Yeah, the question regarding a plan, we do have a plan in place. It's basically essentially the west side roadway network. Now, a lot of these projects are going to be years and years down the road,
Look at Matt.
but basically it is a network. It's going to involve a lot of coordination with other municipalities, agencies, but basically Yorktown is essentially the first step in getting that roadway network built in then. That, like you said, Commissioner White, basically that involves basically widening of Williamson Boulevard. We will be working with the county to see what we can do basically to get that moving forward, and basically, moving that forward. But, if Williamson is widened, we also need Yorktown to be constructed. So we see Yorktown as the first step and basically sends a message. We're looking to build this roadway network. And I think basically that helps build the momentum and shows that Port Orange is basically working on the network then. These are all roadway projects, basically right-of-way is going to be necessary and will help alleviate traffic in that area. You've got Taylor Road widening. On the project that we've got coming in here on Taylor Road, we're acquiring right-of-way for that future widening there. You basically have got the Madeline Avenue extension. We'll be working with property owners in that area for right-of-way for that then. That kind of creates that backbone network in that area.
Well, and Ken Parker already told me that we already had the right of way all the way to Smoky Farms Road. The city has the right
I mean,
of
this
way.
is basically continuing that right away in areas basically that are not in Port Orange too. As you can see, this is areas not in the city of Port Orange.
Going in
So it's working
Daytona.
with adjacent, with property owners to make sure that that right of way is maintained there.
And that, to me, that would be,
And again,
you
that's,
know, that would, I know it comes down to funding, but to me, that would be one of the, since we already have the right of way, would be a huge alleviation
Right.
of traffic.
but we do,
off
like I
of
said,
Williamson.
we got the plan, and basically it allows us to, you know, move forward as we start to look for ways to fund these projects, and also working with development projects that they come in this area, because this is basically the last area we have to develop.
And there's a lot of properties
And
in
then
our
also,
city limits that are, and you gotta remember Daytona is developing a lot of their properties
Right.
too, from Bevel all the way south.
then you spoke about Dunlawton Avenue. We do have, as Penny mentioned, we do have a number of turn lane projects, basically at key intersections on Dunlawton, basically to get that turning traffic out of there.
Great.
That way, more traffic can go through those lights in. Also, allowing traffic turn lanes also helps increase capacity on the lights there. We've also working with Volusia County, since they're the ones that maintain the traffic signals on Dunlawton, even though it's a state roadway, as a application to do an adaptive traffic signal system there. Basically, that will essentially allow those traffic lights to basically adapt to the traffic conditions at that time. You know, for instance, you know, whenever you're over on the beach side and it starts raining, and everyone tries to get back off of Dunlawton on a Saturday, it doesn't work because of those preset
Right.
lights in. This would be able to adapt to the situation as an increase in traffic then to get that moving. Also, when you have an emergency vehicle go through the intersection, kind of after it leaves, it takes a while to get set up back on the normal cycle. This would allow to adapt then. So those are all things that are basically either we've got applications in to get and starting design work on those, or you know, construction within the next year along Dunlawton specifically.
They just put in one of those lights at Pioneer Trail and Airport Road.
Yep.
And again, it's got, almost looks like a camera. So if somebody comes up to one of those red lights, it moves the lights.
Oh, it's not a camera? I swore it was a camera.
No, we can't. That's
Is that why they keep
Volusia
getting
County.
you videos of
Yes.
you flipping it off?
Not that
Okay.
kind of camera.
Anything else for Tim on
I
this
was going to ask,
concurrency? Go ahead.
can you explain that mechanism again for us? So I'm looking at Williamson, and I see there's 3 of those sections there that are over LOS.
Yes.
And it sounded like what you said was people are waiting to develop there in that area for a funding pot for them to put money into, for example, for Yorktown, so they can start developing.
Right. Basically, our code allows for if you essentially to mitigate the area where basically the level of surface is not being met. So basically, on Williamson Boulevard, in this area, we are over 100%. Since we don't have since the Yorktown project is within, you know, vicinity of that area of Williamson, and if it can construct, it could add relief to that segment of Williamson Boulevard. We're allowed to basically have them pay their fair share into the Yorktown project to get that constructed.
Even though, so even though nothing's being built.
Right, but
at
you're starting the
Yorktown,
kitty for it.
You're just starting a kitty, and we can say, go ahead, keep building, keep building, keep building.
Right, but we're
But
you
they
know,
want you.
but we're
again,
looking to
when you
move
keep
forward with
building, you're-
Yorktown.
Yeah, you're collecting the money to put
Yeah, I
that
get
road
that,
in,
but-
you know?
So the question I
It
have
always
really.
seems like an after the fact, though.
Well,
I mean, that's how basically we did
we're
the
just,
traffic
we're
light.
just trying
At,
to catch up.
Always.
We're not,
Always.
yeah, we're not.
that's how we
even
did the
close.
traffic light at Williamson and Town West Boulevard. That was basically that collected money from basically 05 to about 2010, and then was constructed in 2013. That way, you know, other fair share projects that came along here in Port Orange, essentially was when D.R. Horton was developing Port Orange Plantation, and they essentially gave all the money toward those projects to be built, and then we collected it that way then. So this is, you know, a typical way on fair share. You got to collect the money and then build the roadway improvement.
Yeah, and it just sounds weird when I explain it to people, because they ask me, why do we keep approving stuff that's going to go over there on Williamson?
And also, too, these projects, you know, the intent is for Williamson or Yorktown to move forward with the next few years of construction. Well, these projects that are being built, the subdivisions, you know, estimation completion is 2020, 2021. So those trips are not going to, you know, the intent is basically those trips to come online when, you know, your roadway improvements are being built then.
Yeah, but the LOS numbers I'm looking at are a year old. We don't even know
Right.
what this year's numbers are, so we're probably way over on more parts of Williamson. I'm just.
I mean, over the course of the year, it's, you know, going up 2 or 3% then. So it's not going to, you don't anticipate a huge jump of, you know, 70 to 80% of the next year.
Well, you know what?
Well, I mean, but you are, because you think about it, you're getting ready to put Woodhaven online. You got the first section of Woodhaven coming down, and I'm amazed at how much ground they're clearing. And getting ready to come
Real
online.
quick in a
Quick.
hurry.
And so what happens is, again, we're always behind. Tom, you know what I mean?
And I keep, you know, I keep
Yeah.
getting asked to
we get
build.
further down because New Smyrna just approved 795 homes, I think, on Pioneer, right up the road from Woodhaven.
Yeah.
Right? Who's that going to affect? We don't have an interchange at 95 there. It's going to affect us. Just
They're
like-
all gonna come
just
right
like
up,
Eddie Schmade.
right up,
Yeah,
the
well,
Williamson,
to
yeah.
get
And Pioneer Trail's going to be widened eventually, but not anytime soon because of the funding. But I mean, we approved all those houses on Town West, and you know, even though just because they're not abutting Williamson or Tomoka Farms Road, that's affecting those 600 residences are going to affect more traffic on both those roads, even though they're county roads. So we're at the behest of the county because we're handcuffed because we can't widen Williamson, or we can't widen Tomoka Farms, or we can't help alleviate traffic, on those roads because we have to wait for their funding to come through for them to do it. Because when they go to do that, that overpass over 95, that's going to be gazillion dollars. I mean, no telling how long it's take to get that kind of money.
That's when you're gonna see having to widen Pioneer Trail all the way back to 415, and that's gonna be, just driving that, there's not a lot of right-of-way there to widen anything.
No.
And you got to wait for an interchange.
No.
I mean, you got to have an interchange before you do that. I mean,
All right.
I would blame past
I've got
planning
a question
commissions
for
that
Matt
most of
though.
them
I
are
think
sitting here.
because here's what I'm concerned about. So when I read this, the management report here, it says that if the roads drop below the adopted LOS, we can't approve. In fact, we have to put a deferral on those developments.
The land development code basically the land development code states if you identify a failure in concurrency on the roads, then
Right.
if you've got an approved project that basically in the vicinity that could basically to mitigate that area, then we're allowed to the developer is allowed to pay in toward that then. So our land development code gives them the opportunity, with Williamson being slightly over capacity, to pay into another roadway project to continue their project. I mean, ICI, when they developed Woodhaven, basically in that case they had the Williamson, I believe that they basically provided some money for traffic signals within the vicinity of that area. Then it's part of their fair share payment then. So basically it's the approach that's used then to pay for other projects in that area, which could help capacity at other certain locations there.
So long as we've got a kitty and a project that helps alleviate where we're overloading it.
Right, but I mean, it's a
Okay.
project that we're collecting money because we intend to build it though. It's not, we're just keeping it there. I mean, we're collecting the money and we intend to build, that Yorktown Boulevard.
Okay.
See, it just sounds like an open-end can to me. It's like you're going to approve a project, they're going to give you some money, but you don't know when the road's ever going to be built.
Yeah.
It's just
like, and we're always digging out a hole.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, thank you.
Previous
you, Tim.
planning commission, it's their fault.
I was here in
Oh, wait,
2008.
that's you guys.
All right, do we need to vote on this? No?
Nope.
Okay.
I think just
I
All
have
right.
one
Report
question
them.
though.
Go ahead.
There is a tennis court on Nova Road between,
Is this commissioner comments?
yes,
Okay, so we're off of this?
yes.
Okay, go ahead. Commissioner comments?
There is a tennis court on Nova Road between Deep Forest
Oh.
and,
Parkwood, or
Parkwood, that looks like abandoned. Like, who owns that?
believe
Can we
that's
do something to
part
make
of
it
the-
look better?
I believe that's part of that subdivision's.
The subdivision by Parkwood, I can't think of the name.
Stony,
Foxborough?
Storybrook or something, or?
Forest. Yeah, I know it's
Foxborough,
basically there's the
the
there's a
townhomes?
townhome development, then there's a
All
golf
back
there.
there.
Oh, it's theirs.
I think it's either townhome development or that subdivision, the residential subdivision.
Is there nothing we can do to improve the look of that thing? It's awful.
We'd have code enforcement look at it and see if there's anything we can do in terms of the appearance that way then. But that is a private court, I guess.
I will also tell you that kids are doing not great things on that tennis court. So,
Not playing
I would.
tennis.
They're not playing tennis. So, I'd like to see something done to. If they're not going to use it, can we remove it? Can we
That's a code enforcement
Put
thing.
landscaping,
That's gonna be a
like,
code enforcement issue.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to Deb.
Okay.
Has to be some type of.
Johnny, anything for Tim?
Well, the two-part. Curious update on the abandoned church over by Willow Run area. Didn't it have a clock ticking on it?
Still does.
Still does.
Yeah, so
And
that-
how long is left? Because I'm going to keep on
Seconds.
asking every 30 days.
August 2018.
Oh, so I got a ways to go.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Not
All
less
right.
than a year.
All right, and total trivia for me, since I live off of Taylor Road. Why is Taylor Road named Taylor Road, where all the schools are? then it totally breaks over Dunlot, and then it becomes Taylor Road again on another road going westward. Why
It's
was
Taylor
that?
Branch Road,
It's
the other
been that
road.
way
Yeah, but
actually.
why don't
Since I
they
was a
label
kid.
it branch or extension? Because every time people ask for directions, they get confused going, this is just trivia. This is my waffle sign. Okay? This is my waffle sign, okay? So, I was just curious. Don't give me that. Look at the look it gives me.
Those roads have been named that since we were kids.
I was just curious, why
There
isn't
was
it
never
called
a
an
Taylor Branch.
extension or
There
a
never
branch?
was.
But
No,
it's
but it
just
was Taylor.
It's
It's
just Taylor.
one
Yeah.
road named the same thing, but it totally breaks off, and it goes up a quarter mile up, and then it picks up again in Taylor Road.
that?
I live off
For that
Taylor
one,
Road. I was
store
always
trucks.
curious because people, you give
I
them
was always
directions.
curious why the
and-
school wasn't built on Spruce Creek Road.
You know, you get off the off ramp coming from the north, and it says specifically Taylor Road with an arrow pointing to the right. So people start going to the right, not knowing there's another Taylor Road.
I'll give you my
north of
dad's
that.
phone number. He'll tell you all about it.
It's his
Give yourself a
birthday.
couple
Tell him
hours.
happy birthday while you're
Yeah.
at it.
So it's just pure curiosity. I'd like to know the history of what, and can we,
Well,
Get on
it's
that,
just-
Tim.
Don't ask.
That's my
We wanna
waffle.
get-
So hey, we all
And
got
my
our
code
pet
enforcement
peeve.
tennis
That's my,
court, please.
that's my
That one's
pet peeve.
that one's an easy. I can get that one taken care of.
I bet it has to do with something before 95 was built. One thing that we might be able to do something about, an observation with traffic, is the left turnout onto Yorktown from Altamira Village, the one right there by Wawa.
Yeah.
Is there any, it's just an observation of mine that people sit there trying to make a left turn out to go north on Yorktown, and everybody's nodding their head. You're lost, Maria?
I'm lost.
Trying to go out of
Right behind
Trying-
Wawa, where
back of
Wawa's
the
is,
Wawa,
yeah,
back
right where that
onto
curve
Yorktown.
is. It's a left
On
turn.
Yorktown.
Left
Yes.
onto Yorktown.
There's
Oh, a left on. Oh,
they're,
okay. I
they're
got
trying
you.
to pull out
Yes.
left, and people are trying to do 0 to 60 going south
south.
on
Yeah.
Yorktown, and that's right there where the backup always is for
the turn lane.
the turn lanes to go west on Dunlawton. It would just seem something to look at. I'm not a traffic engineer, don't play one on TV, that if we were to eliminate that left turnout, or at least at the high traffic parts of the day, like they eliminate the turn, the left-hand turn from Victoria Gardens onto Clyde Morris during the school zone hours.
The problem is.
See, now
Greg,
you're making the Wawa right in, right out only.
Yeah.
Right, but
Right.
the problem is
Yeah,
that you're
I
gonna be going around in circles. You know, you have people come
Yeah.
up there and they'll still try to turn
Yeah.
left
Right.
because we're like, you know,
Yeah.
well, I gotta go back, I gotta back up, I gotta
But
do
see,
this.
this
And no matter
to
how
me
many
is
times you try
where
to keep it
There
in
shouldn't be an
Well, I am
entrance.
just-
I mean,
this-
honestly, I don't think there should be an entrance there because you have a very dangerous curve
Yeah.
where people
Well,
are
that's-
going 45, 50 miles an hour and you're trying to pull out left in a blind side, you know, and it's scary.
Yeah, that's another thing. Maybe that entrance exit needs to be eliminated
closed.
altogether.
I mean,
I-
I don't know if we can
Or
do that
something
for
needs to
time.
happen at the light, and the light needs to be better signalized, or another turn lane, or however. But see, to me, this is how
But it's
fair
still
share.
dangerous. People
This is where
fly
fair
down
share
there.
Journey's End would go.
That's what I'm saying.
And
You
I
know,
do have
that's what I'm
one other thing that I wanted Chairman Green to know, that he will now be able to enjoy his Waffle House cuisine on Seabreeze Boulevard.
No way.
Yes.
Popping up
They're building
everywhere.
another one.
Yeah, I believe it's where the Princess Lycina
I'd be interested
was.
to see how
The
big that
vacant
sign's
lot-
gonna be.
And then
the
you can go
vacant lot
to
there.
the many dollar
This sign.
journals that we have.
If it's on Seabreeze, I guarantee you it's super small.
They said they spent all the money on ours.
Go through the development.
One size
Nice,
fits all.
Tim. Nice.
Maybe we can see if they can relocate ours over there. We can give them a good deal for it. I'll give them a call.
Discount.
That's a big
Either
sign.
one of them.
I'll give them a
That's
call. see
That's
what
a
we can
big
do.
cost to move that
We're gonna
sign.
put it in your pickup truck to transport.
Tom, anything for Tim?
No, thank you very
Mike?
much, Tim.
Tim, that little station right by the Waffle, that old gas station by Waffle House, anything happening?
Nothing.
Nothing. Ah.
I saw ground got broken
No
on
walls?
the assisted living facility out by
Yes.
Creekside Middle.
Yep.
So they've got a
Well, not
development
really.
order.
Well, yeah,
Well, they're
groundbreaking.
clearing a
They're
lot.
pushing dirt around.
Yeah, the one that's off of Airport Road.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
gonna tear
that one
down
got
that little
the-
cute building.
Yeah,
there.
they got the pre-construction. They're moving forward with the construction of that one then.
That's the assisted living, huh?
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
that Sunny's sign that got damaged during the storm. I mean, I don't know how it got damaged. Someone ran into it, but it's still.
The one that's leaning
Yeah.
over. Yeah,
There's a
So
couple
is
on
the
Dunlop,
one, there's
the
a
gas
couple, the
station.
gas station
Oh,
yeah.
right
Well,
across
that
from
one's
it.
yeah. Well, at least they removed the tree
Yeah,
finally,
they
but there's still
finally
some of
got
the
the
signs.
tree
But I mean,
We're
is
working,
there time? Is there a
we're
time
working with
limit
those.
on when
We're
they
working with those property owners to get those addressed.
I don't know how that one got
It's a
damaged.
shell.
Somebody ran
Is it a
into
shell?
it.
Yeah,
there?
it's a gas station.
Yeah.
Dunlop.
The old SunTrust Bank there behind the old Walmart on Dunlop and by Nova, is it the one that's closed down? Is anything moving forward with that being a professional office building?
No, they got the uses expanded on that then, and we haven't had anything follow up on there then. They intended, I think, to do some type of multi-tenant building there, but since the MDA got approved, we haven't heard.
I saw some people walking around it the other day. You know,
They might be,
they're
on,
taking pictures.
on their end, working on
They
plans
kicked
stuff like
off
that, but
the
nothing's been
Yeah, they
submitted
got
to
kicked
us.
off the tennis court.
Those were probably.
I know there's a couple of new things coming in the pavilion. I heard a freestanding restaurant that's gonna be moving out of one to a freestanding. Anything else happening out there in the pavilion?
That's
Or
all
there's a
the
bookstore
movement we've got in
coming
the
too.
pavilion then.
2018 bookstore's coming.
Finally.
That was an anchor store when that thing first
Yep.
went,
When it first
came
went,
in.
yeah.
It'll be a
That was
bookstore.
one of the selling things. We were all excited about the bookstore.
I heard it's
That
coming.
and the PF Chang's
Yeah.
that's now going to Daytona.
But I tell you what, I mean, I just want to say that with the 150th, our anniversary celebration now is phenomenal. The park
So
looks
good.
awesome. River Park looks so awesome. Once again, this is where our issues are going to be is the parking. I mean, as the development moves forward and more projects, more things happen down there, more, celebrations, maybe 4th of July, whatever. Do you know if we're looking at other alternative ways, park and rides or whatever, so that
Need to
we
buy the
access-
wine shop property.
Well, I mean, we own the property next to Jose's office, and it has,
Oh, we do?
that's city owned. The people with a wine place, they think it's worth a gazillion
Yeah,
dollars.
they think it's worth way more
well,
than
it's,
it is.
it's right
They've
outside
had
Riverwalk,
wine.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you know of anything? Yeah, it's commercial. Do you know of anything, of any possibilities of parking
I
areas?
think we're, looking at the options that we got there. It's basically, it's a, brand new park.
Yeah.
So basically, the first event, we're gonna have to kind of see how it plays out there. But, we'll be, looking for different options on Long Ridgewood. I mean, there's a lot of existing businesses which we can partner with possibly to utilize some of their parking spaces there during high peak
Yeah, my brother
events.
said he has no problem with it. You don't mind people parking there. We actually were at an RV with a camp out, had a big fire going, we were cooking up dogs and hamburgers, watching the fireworks from the park.
So you're tailgating for the park?
Yeah, well, he's got a nice RV. I mean, you just
Well, the
hang
gas
out
station
there.
property got reduced in price.
Anything new
Oh,
down at the
good.
pavilion yet? Anything with Buddy?
The only thing we've got in here that's, under review is that, his portion of the trail and landscaping then
Yeah.
is the only thing at this time that we've got under review then.
His clock is ticking too, though,
Yeah,
Correct.
when,
Yeah.
when does his clock
Yeah,
tick
but his
out?
is a long
He's
one.
got 2.5 years.
There's some
Yeah.
stuff that's coming up here shortly, but the majority of it was a, over a 3-year period then. But it is, it was 3 years ago,
got
last year, so
turned
it's, it's, like you said, the clock is ticking on that project too.
You've got to turn dirt. Now, going forward, are we moving forward with the rest of the park, our trail and all that stuff? We Riverwalk? Whether, because I mean, I know when we were approving or looking at his project,
We were trying to
want
do
to
a
make sure
parallel.
that,
Yeah.
we're trying to make sure, we're trying to coordinate everything
Yeah, we're-
together. But
Yeah,
we're still on track.
Yeah, we're looking forward basically to moving with the next, next phases there with that park then.
Okay.
It still hasn't been designed yet, so we still have kind of there, but the intent is to continue that momentum in that area then.
Will we work from the southern end this way now, or will we just continue as a continuous thing all the way down to the river?
Well, Buddy's part, basically the plant that we've got in here now would basically extend it from where it currently ends to somewhere around the adult center then, and that would be the last segment would be down to the Dunlop then.
I
All
understand
the way to
that,
the corner.
I understand that they're probably not going to fix that because the damage was so bad. The adult center?
I'd have to check with Parks and Rec on that.
Yeah, I think Sue was telling me something about that. That probably won't be good.
Good?
Yeah.
Anybody good with Tim?
We're good.
Once again, I think you're doing a great job, Tim.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything that you
Thank
do.
you.
I want to wish everybody a happy
Tim has something to
Thanksgiving.
say,
Yeah.
though.
Huh?
Tim has something to say.
Go ahead.
Just to remember that our next meeting next month is December 14th. We had moved it up
That's
a
like a
week.
week.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, but just want to remember that, December 14th then is that one for our last meeting in this year then.
All right. Like to wish everybody a happy holiday.
You too.
Happy
You too.
birthday to my dad.
Yep.
Woo woo.
And we are out.
Make a motion
Peace
to
out.
get out of here.